African-American community asked me, how come we can spend trillions of dollars on a war in Iraq we never should have gotten into, but somehow we don't have the money to rebuild inner cities in this country. Together, we are going to change our national priorities. Instead of rebuilding communities in Iraq and Afghanistan, we're going to rebuild them right here in the United States of America. And as Deborah Parker mentioned you when she introduced me, this campaign is going to start paying attention to a group of people whose pain is very rarely heard, and that is the Native American people. Everybody knows that the Native American people, from the very first days of this country, from before the time we became a country, when the first settlers came here, Native American people have been lied to, they have been cheated, and treaties they negotiated were broken. Meanwhile, as you all also know, the Native American people have incredibly enriched our culture. And we owe them a debt of gratitude that we can never fully repay. And perhaps the most important lesson that they have been trying to teach us, and we had better learn, is that as human beings, we are part of nature. We must live with nature. And if we continue to destroy nature, we are ultimately destroying ourselves. But despite their gifts to our country today all over America, in Native American communities and on reservations, unemployment and poverty are sky high. Educational opportunities and health care is often abysmal. Together, we are going to change the federal government's relationship to the Native American people. I am a member of the U.S. Senate Committee on the Environment. And I know, having talked to scientists all over the world, what Donald Trump does not know. I know that climate change is real, that climate change is caused by human activity, and that climate change in California, in our country, and all over the world is already doing devastating harm. And what I also know, and what the scientists are telling us as loudly as they can, and boy, had we better listen to them, is if we don't get our act together in the near future, a bad situation will become much worse, more drought, more floods, more extreme weather disturbances, more acidification of the ocean, more rising sea levels, more international conflict as people fight over limited natural resources. We have a moral responsibility to make certain that we leave this planet in a way that is healthy and habitable for our children and our future generations. Why, together, we are going to take on the fossil fuel industry, and we are going to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. me say, on that area, Secretary Clinton and I have an important disagreement. I see climate change is a major planetary crisis. I believe we have got to be extremely bold. I believe there should be a tax on carbon. And there's another area of growing consequence. It's getting worse, and I think more and more people are now paying attention to it. And that is whether or not this country, and in fact the world, will have the clean drinking water that we need in years to come. Right now in California and in many communities of this country, people are turning on the tap. They cannot drink the water because it is polluted and toxic. In my view, now is the time to end fracking. My state of Vermont was the first state in the country to end fracking, and if I have anything to say about it, we're going to end it in the other 49 states as well. And this is another area where Secretary Clinton and I have an important disagreement. Not only is she not supportive of ending fracking, when she was Secretary of State, she actively pushed the fracking technology on other countries around the world. Let me be as clear as I can be and say something which often my critics, the media, and everybody else disagrees with me on, but let me be honest with you and tell you what I believe. I believe that health care is a right of all people, not a privilege. And that means that the United States has got to join every other major industrialized country, United Kingdom, France, Germany, Holland, Italy, Scandinavia. I live 50 miles away from the Canadian border, Canada. All of those countries provide health care as a right to all of their people. Now, the Affordable Care Act, in my view, has done some very important things. But we have to go further. It is not, let me ask you a question. How many people here have no health insurance? Please raise your hand. Wow. How many people are underinsured with high deductibles and high copayments? Okay. Those hands indicate a dysfunctional and failed healthcare system. And we're going to change that. This morning, I met with some doctors who reminded me that because millions of Americans have no health insurance and others have high deductibles and copayments, which prevent them from going to the doctor when they should, that people every day are dying because they go to the doctor too late. And I've talked to doctors who tell me they have seen patients walk in the door and they say to the patients, "Why didn't you come in here a year ago when you first felt your symptoms?" And the people say, "I had no health insurance. I couldn't afford to go to the doctor." That is not what America is supposed to be about. We are losing 40,000 people a year who die unnecessarily because they don't get the medical treatment they need when they need it. And that is why, together, we are going to pass a Medicare for all health care system. And when we pass a Medicare for all health care system, we are also taking on the greed of the pharmaceutical industry, which is charging us by far the highest prices in the world for the medicine we use. Now, it is crazy. If you want to hear crazy, this is crazy. 1 out of 5 people, 1 out of 5, who go to the doctor and get a prescription, they can't afford to fill that prescription. You have senior citizens in California and in Vermont who cut their pills in half, which is a bad thing to do because they cannot afford the medicine they need. But last year, the major 5 drug companies made $50 billion in profit. And over the years, the major drug companies have given severance packages, retirement packages, to their CEOs of over $100 million. Our job is, and we will bring this about, is standing up to the insurance companies, standing up to the drug companies, and telling them that the function of health care is to provide quality care, comprehensive care to all of our people, not to have them make billions of dollars off medicine. Everybody here knows a very profound lesson of American history. And that lesson is that real change never ever takes place from the top on down. It always takes place from the bottom on up. Think about the condition of workers in America over 100 years ago when people were working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and children were working in factories. And what the working class of America said, that is not acceptable. We are human beings and we want to be treated with dignity. We will form trade unions and negotiate contracts. And we thank the American trade union movement for giving us, for fighting for us in creating the modern middle class of this country. 150 years ago, amidst the abomination of slavery, there were African Americans and their allies who stood up and fought back and had a vision for America that the day would come when we would end racism and segregation and bigotry. And over the years, millions of people stood up, fought back, they went to jail, some of them were killed, some of them were beaten. But they stood united, having a vision of a non-racist America. Many children don't know this, but less than 100 years ago, not a long time ago, from an historical perspective, women in America did not have the right to vote, to get the education they wanted, or do the work they wanted. Women were told by the establishment of their time and by the culture of their time that a woman's place is home, keeping house, and having babies. But women stood up and they said to the establishment and the ruling class, you will not define us, we will define our own lives. And women and their male allies stood up and said loudly and clearly, women will not be second-class citizens in this country. Think about this. If we were here 10 years ago and somebody jumped up and said, you know, Bernie, I think that by the year 2015, gay marriage will be legal in every state in this country. The person next to her would have said, "You're nuts. There's too much homophobia in the country, too much hatred, too much bigotry. Ain't gonna happen." But what did happen is that the gay community and their straight allies, with enormous courage, said to our nation that people should have the right to love whoever they want, regardless of their gender. That's how change occurs. And here's also how change occurs right now, as we speak. 5 years ago, if we were here, somebody jumps up and says, "You know, Bernie, this $7.25 federal minimum wage, it's a starvation wage. It is an outrage. We have to raise that minimum wage to $15 an hour." Person next to them would have said, $15 an hour? You want to go from $7.25 to $15? You're crazy. You're radical. You're a dreamer. It can't happen. You're asking too much. But then something remarkable occurred. And that is that the workers in the fast food industry, in McDonald's, in Burger King, and in Wendy's, they went out on strike. And they stood up and they told their neighbors and they told this country, a human being in America cannot live on $7.25 an hour. That we've got to raise the minimum wage to a living wage. And then, up in Seattle, 3 years ago, City Council voted $15 an hour. And then San Francisco and Los Angeles, $15 an hour. And California and New York State, $15 an hour. And if I have anything to say about it, and I will, as president, there'll be $15 an hour in every state in this country. Now here is my point. Throughout history, the establishment, the ruling class, always tells people, think small, don't think big. You can't accomplish big things. We have the power. We have the wealth. You are nothing. And what we are saying in this campaign is sorry, too late for that kind of thinking. We are going to create the nation we want. And all across this country, from Maine to California, people are looking around them. And they're saying, what is going on in this great country? Why has the middle class been shrinking for the last 25 years and almost all new income and wealth goes to the top 1%? Why are we seeing a proliferation of billionaires while we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth? Why are we the only major country not to guarantee paid family and medical leave? Why are young people leaving school $30,000, $70,000 in debt? Why are women making 79 cents on the dollar compared to men? Why is our infrastructure collapsing when we have so many unemployed workers ready to rebuild that infrastructure? Why are corporations shutting down in America and moving to low-wage countries abroad? Why do we continue to have a corrupt campaign finance system that allows billionaires to buy elections? That is what the American people are thinking about. And what they are concluding, and what this campaign is about, is that it is too late for establishment politics and establishment economics. The establishment has betrayed the American people, and now is the time for real change. And if we learn from history, from the workers' movement, from the civil rights movement, from the women's movement, from the gay movement, if we learn from history what we learn, is the only way that real change takes place is when millions of people stand up and fight for that change. That is what this campaign is about. What this campaign is about is creating a government that works for all of us and not just the 1%. On June 7th, there's going to be an enormously important primary, Democratic primary right here in California. 475 delegates are at stake. I believe that if there is a large voter turnout, not only will we win this primary, we will win it big. So I am asking tonight the people of Monterey, I'm asking the people of California to make the Democratic primary on June 7th have the largest voter turnout of any primary in California. California is the largest state in this country. It is one of the most progressive states in this country. And I'm asking the people of California to help lead us into the political revolution. Thank you all very much.